The joys of growing your own vegetable at home. This is something new we're trying to do here at the French Cooking Academy. We're trying to be more sustainable. You can see the thumbnail with the title From the Gardens. We've planted lots of things, including some cabbages, and it turns out they are white cabbages. Very hard to make, but I found a recipe from Burgundy. And we're going to make in a style of Paul Bocuse, which is very straightforward. It's a white cabbage salad with bacon, apple in a creamy dressing. Should be very simple, but of course, we need to use our special homegrown cabbage. Now, if you haven't seen a cabbage before grown in a garden, you may think that it's a prop from Star Wars movie or something like that, because it is quite impressive. Let's go. So as you can see, a cabbage in its natural habitat takes a lot of space and it's huge. But most of it just leaves, really. You're not going to eat this thing. What you really want from the white cabbage, so the white cabbage you see in the supermarket is what's inside, you see, and you have to kind of open all the leaves to reveal that kind of globe inside, and this is what we're going to be using. So I'm going to be using my little scissors here, and I'm going to try to chop off some of the huge leaves off, like this, one by one. Now, if you're just curious to know how it works, as you can see, there's plenty of leaves, so it's a bit like being a hairdresser for cabbages. And you just go there. What do you want today for a trim? There, boom, up, up, up. And that's it. And you keep on going until we reach the core. So there we have it. A few leaves later comes the golden prize. And look at this. It's got these little natural drops of rainwater inside. It's a bit like these magazines, you know, these glossy magazines with you everything. And the recipe says, you know, from the garden, you have to take one of these cabbages, and this is what you need to use. And we need to detach what's called the white leaf. So I imagine when they talk about the white leaf and the green leaf, you can see the difference in color. You see, that would be a green leaf. So the white leaves are not exactly white, kind of greenish. So I'm going to carefully detach them until we reach really the hard bits of the cabbage, and that's what we're going to be using for the salad. Now, I am done with my cabbage leaves here, but this is not at all what I expected to see. I wanted to see the same as in the shop, you know, kind of a hard globe with everything in there. These are leaves, but on the recipe from Paul Bocuse, it did mention that you will have leaves and you need to kind of trim off these hard bits from there, so I'm not too sure. For you at home, I would say, use one of those white cabbage you can find in the shop. I think that will work perfectly. For me, I'm going to go through the motion. In terms of ingredients, we've got the cabbage, and the rest is going to be sauté apples with sauté lardons, you know, these little bacon bits, with a cream dressing. So we're going to keep things very, very straightforward. Of course, as always, you'll find all the details in the video description. Now, in the event you got something similar than me here, what the recipe says is we need to get rid really of this hard bit here. Anything that is hard in there, in the cabbage, like this part, we need to get rid of. So with a knife, we're just going to be cutting all around the edges like this, and we're going to get rid of this part, the hard bit. So you want to keep the nice things to it, something really, really soft. All right, so I'm done with all of the leaves. The heart, though, was really looking bizarre. I'm not going to use this because it looks like there's flour inside or something like this. It's like a mix of flour and you know, all kinds of alien looking things. So I'm not going to use that. I'm going to stick to the leaves here, and I'm going to clean them first. I'm going to rinse them in a bath of cold water with a bit of vinegar, and then we're going to chop them up. So my cabbage has been washed, and I'm really surprised. I started with a tree, something that looks like a massive tree, and up with basically a bowl of cabbage. It's not exactly efficient, but hey, this is the way it goes. So the next step is to cut this into a julienne, so very, very kind of thin slices. I've stacked up some leaves like this, and we're going to do the same technique as the chiffonade. I'm going to try to roll them up a little bit and to hold them, and then really being kind of careful. I'm going to try to really get these very thin stripes like that. So yeah, I think it starts to look like a salad, I think. I just thought about something amazing. I'm not sure if this was the proper white cabbage, but what you can do in this case is use your nose. And I am going to smell you, cabbage, because yes, you know what? That's the exact same smell as the hard one you get in the shop. So it is a white cabbage. Yes, success. That's more like it. We start to go back to normality here. This is, you can trust this these chefs like Paul Bocuse, and they don't really know what they're doing. So at the end of the day, it kind of starts odd, and it goes well afterwards. So we've got the cabbage. Now, one of the interesting things in the recipe is that cabbages, and even the white one, they're pretty tough. If you eat them like this, they're not so good. So one of the tricks here is that you have to make the dressing with the cream and mix it with the cabbage beforehand and leave it to rest while you're preparing the other ingredients. Now, usually when you add a dressing to any kind of salad, it's going to cook your salad very, very quickly. So usually you should only kind of put the dressing and mix it with the salad like a lettuce only at the last minute. But here, I can totally see why, because adding that dressing is going to start to tenderize our cabbages. So I think it makes sense. So let's do the dressing. The dressing used for that salad is super simple, very straightforward. Simple salt and pepper to start with, followed by about a small tablespoon of vinegar. Okay, we're going to dissolve everything in the vinegar first. We're going to add about the same amount of oil. Actually, it's going to be cream in there, so it's a little bit different. Okay, blend, and then with that, we have the cream. So I'm going to put only half because I've got less cabbage than expected. Okay, about that. 50 ml. And then we mix. Now, I wanted to show you something. Anytime you use cream and you whisk, you get this kind of almost like a whipped cream style of dressing. And I really like that effect. So let's try it. I'm quite curious. Nice, well balanced. Huh? I can see the Bocuse style. It's just a little bit acidic, and you got the cream, you got the seasoning, but I think then it's going to be the addition of the bacon, the saltiness, and the apple. It's all going to come together. I can see it from here. All right, so I've transferred my cabbage into the bowl I'm going to be using, and from here, we're just going to pour that over, and then mix the whole lot. So you can use, if you want a spatula, to grab everything you can out of there. And now we're going to use a fork and a spoon, and I'm going to put that dressing through the cabbage. Now I'm all done, and one of the good things that I can see is that the amount of dressing is adequate. It is not drowned into dressing, and it's just enough. So it is nicely coated, just enough, and it is just what we want. You don't want like a pool of dressing at the bottom, so that's good. So the operation cabbage is now complete. I'm going to store this in the fridge while we do the sauteing of the bacon and the apple. That's going to be it. Now, one thing is sure is that when you have bacon in a recipe, you know it's going to be good, especially a salad, because bacon is good. So what we're going to do, we're going to pan and we're going to put all of the bacon. It's going to be nicely pan-fried, nicely colored. The bacon is now ready. I'm going to turn the heat off and I'm going to reserve this on a kitchen towel to remove the excess of fat. And then we're going to do the apples. So we're going to use some butter, and the thing not to do with the apple is to try to cook them in the oil from the bacon. That is going to be horrible. Apples are sweet. All what we want is to caramelize them in butter. So we melt the butter first and boom, apple in. As soon as the butter is hot, you put the apples in and we're going to caramelize, so high heat. And we're going to wait to get some coloring. I've got a bit of coloring and I think that's it. I'm going to turn my heat off. It doesn't look like much, but this was the recommended amount on that recipe. Let's see how it goes. And that's it. It says apparently as soon as it's ready, you have to pour this over. So I've got my bacon. It's even maybe better when it's still warm. Maybe to cook that cabbage a little bit further. And I'm going to keep some apples for the decoration. And then it's just a matter of, again, mixing the whole lot together and see how it looks like. Right, so the first thing I can see that it looks pretty simple. It's going to have to be plated differently, but what it says to finish, you can have a sprinkle of chives, okay, from the garden of course, these are homegrown chives, and then I've got some lemon from the lemon tree and a bit of lemon juice, okay, and a last stir. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to first try put this on a little bowl so to give you an idea, and then we're going to dress up a nice plate to something looking a bit better, because it looks pretty simple, this. So here we are. I'm going to take this at face value. I've just put a little bit of this head on the plate, and let's keep in mind that this is just cabbage from the garden, and that's the whole purpose, with some bacon, some apples, and then a simple dressing. So this is what you get. I think, from what I can see here, is going to be some raw food for raw food lovers. But I'm not going to add anything. I'm just going to try it as is. Okay. I've got a piece of bacon in there. All good. Okay. And the apple is coming in. Bacon. The cabbage is really soft. Now look, you're not going to wake up at night to eat it, unless you're really into raw food, but I like the mixture of apple with the cabbage. Really took me by surprise. Yeah. And the lemon. So there is actually a layer of complexity in this. Quite amazing. Yeah, Bocuse again, he strikes again. So what can we say to finish on that special white cabbage salad? Remember, it will produce from the garden, but as far as white cabbages go, that is not super exciting. It works pretty well. The combination of apple, bacon, and that creamy dressing with that hint of lemon really is interesting, especially if you're into raw food. So remember, this is a Burgundy recipe. We've made it in the style of Paul Bocuse. That means that everything is well balanced. If you want something that's more homely in a home style, you can put more bacon, you can put more apple, more dressing, and perhaps a hint of walnut might work pretty well. But that's it, that completes the video with this new episode on From the Garden series. I will leave you with that picture and I will see you next week for another episode on the French Cooking Academy. Take care all, bye bye.